Hello, average engineers. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that's super exciting, introduce a new tool to you that you may or may not have heard of. It is called Daft. It is a Dataframe tool, and I am going to compare it to Spark on Databricks. So I'm going to run Daft on Databricks against Spark and for Delta tables that are inside Unity Catalog. I just want to say that all again. It's a mouthful. Delta Lake data in Unity Catalog inside Databricks, not using PySpark, but using Daft, this third-party tooling. Now, I'm not sure how many people get this, how many people work with Databricks, but this is a big deal because typically when you're inside Databricks platform, especially when you're talking about Unity Catalog objects and Delta Lake inside Unity Catalog, the world's kind of sealed off a little bit. It's kind of hard to use other toolings unless you're talking about pandas, which is a piece of crap. You know, this Daft is sweet. Not only is it fast, it has an awesome integration with the Unity Catalog that is unparalleled by any other tool. And this could lead to serious cost savings and serious performance improvements for people using Databricks. Think about it. You have a tool that can easily integrate with Unity Catalog and hit those Delta Lake tables. For example, if you're using Airflow to run your Databricks orchestration and pipelines, for a lot of those smaller jobs, you could basically not run Databricks compute, which is expensive. You could run Daft and connect to Unity Catalog, run all the same exact pipelines in a Dataframe manner that you're doing today, or SQL, and you could use Daft instead of PySpark when you don't need to, because let's be honest, most people do not need Spark. Most people are using smaller data sets. I guarantee you tools like Daft can easily handle your workloads. I have written about Daft before and how it's even faster than Polars, which is impressive. Daft is a Rust-based tool, which explains why it's so fast. But it does not explain how come it has an awesome integration with the Unity Catalog, so it makes working with Databricks, man, it's like butter on bread. But I did a test here and I just want to show you the results of that. I was really just curious if I could just simply pip install Daft, it's a Python tool, inside a Databricks cluster, run it instead of PySpark, and if it's way faster, that means I can save money in certain instances. All the code you're going to see was run inside a single node Databricks cluster shown here on the screen, 122 gigabytes of memory, 16 cores. It's not, that's a little bit of juice there, right? And remember, the more boring this is, the better. The easier the integration is, the easier it is to do this, the better. We don't want it to be hard. And again, remember, if you're running in a production Databricks environment and you're like, you could pip install it in a notebook, but say you have Databricks jobs running, job clusters, right? Remember, there's things called the init scripts, so you could just add this sort of like pip install. I'll show you an example here of like, hey, here's a bash script that's an init script for when a Databricks job starts up, and it runs this first, pip install, get Daft, Unity Catalog with Delta Lake, bam, easy. Or if you're evil and you like using notebooks for everything, you could just, of course, just pip install regular get Daft Unity with Delta Lake, and you'd be fine as long as you restart the Python interpreter. I just want to show you how easy it is to connect to Unity Catalog with Daft. You just say from Daft, import Unity Catalog, and all you need is the endpoint, your Databricks account ID. Basically, I can see an example here. If you know Databricks, you know how to get that. It's up in your URL. And of course, you need a token. You need to generate a personal token. You should be familiar with that with your data engineer. You can get your token through the Databricks UI, go to settings, whatever, blah, 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 clickety clicky. You can generate a personal token. Of course, for security reasons, Daft needs that. It needs the URI to your Databricks account, and it needs a token to be able to access that. And honestly, it's so easy. From there, all you have to do is the obvious, just like you would do in Spark. You just have to say Unity Catalog, load this table, and then you just give it your schema, whatever is my schema, default.backend at testing Daft. You just load your table, and then you can say Daft read Delta Lake table from Unity Catalog. It's amazing. This looks boring, but this is so simple and so cool. You got to remember, up to this point, Databricks is a Spark company, so basically Spark and PySpark is your only option really to do productionized sort of workloads on Databricks, because those integrations are so Sparky-ish and they're just made for Spark. It makes it impossible or very hard to use other tools, but not in this case. Look how easy it is with Daft. I do want to make one note there. When I first started doing this, I got an error right away when I ran that above code, and it said permission denied, permission denied. Oh, you can't do this. And I was kind of confused, but it's really not that bad. It's more of like a Databricks administration thing. If you read the documentation, basically what's happening is credential vending. It's more or less the ability to allow allowed what Databricks calls external engines from getting at Unity catalog data. Honestly, I think they just put this blocker there. They'll say, oh, this is just for, security reasons, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, hey, look, if I'm giving this tool credentials, then obviously I have credentials to go hit this code. You don't have to block me again. I understand why they're doing this. I think it's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. But basically what you have to do is you have to go into have your Databricks account admin go in and basically just click a button that says, hey, we are going to allow external data access, let these external engines hit Unity catalog and process data. I mean, if it requires a personal access token, if someone stole your token, you're screwed anyway, so whatever. Transparency, when I did finally get past that, permissions there, and I said, okay, I'll make the change in Databricks to let external engines run on my Unity catalog data. I did get the second arrow C here. I'll show on the screen. It was kind of like, what the heck is going on here? This looks crazy. It's something else. Basically, all that was my fault. I didn't pip install Daft correctly. If you see here, you got to pip install get Daft with Unity and Delta Lake inside. I had installed Daft, Unity catalog, and then Delta Lake separately. It needs to be, you can kind of see the command, it needs to be together. I need the integration. Sort of obvious, sort of not, because I don't think they really tell you that up front when I was reading the documentation and doing that. It's just something you got to know. So then I just ran, connected against this table finally, just give me an account, and hey, look, it worked. That's pretty sweet. So now I have access to this Unity catalog Delta Lake table and via Daft, and it has about 21 million records, which is really tiny, but I just want to do a group by with Daft, some simple aggregate query with Daft, and then PySpark, and just see what's shaking, what's happening. Is Daft way faster? What's going on? Of course, here too, in this little example that you can see here, I'm writing the results to a Delta Lake on S3, not necessarily a Delta Lake 3 Unity catalog. That's just my way to persist the results out. It's really just to help with this testing of this code. As you can see, I did actually have to hard code my keys on S3 to get Daft to be able to, write out and have access to S3, I guess. In the future, probably what would happen, you'd have some sort of environment variables, things like that going on. But you can see this is Daft. It's really easy code. I'm loading the table, reading the Delta Lake, just doing really simple group by. I mean, Daft is just like any other data frame tool. It's super obvious. Group by, aggregation. You can see there, I'm just taking those results and write them out. 21 million records. It took about 7 seconds for Daft to do that. And of course, I went and checked the actual results just to make sure it's not garbage. It actually did what it's supposed to do, which it did. And you can see here, I ran the same thing in Spark. I used Spark SQL to do this. Basically went and read that same exact table, wrote it out again to S3, and it took about 20 seconds. It's a lot longer. Daft is almost 3 times faster. That's not bad. That's actually not a surprise. Daft is written in Rust. Spark is made for massive data sets. We're talking 200 billion, not 200 million type stuff, or 20 million, right? So Daft is way faster at smaller data sets. So that's no surprise. But what I really want to know is how easy it was to do that. Just a couple configuration changes to be able to read those Unity catalog tables with Daft. And I'm betting there is tons of workloads out there that people could switch from Spark to Daft and it would run way faster, and they would actually save reasonable amounts of money. They would save decent amounts of money if they kind of migrated away from PySpark and these small use cases and over to Daft, because this is quite a bit faster. And obviously this isn't like a super scientific thing. I was just trying to show, man, Daft is a cool tool. I am so surprised that people don't talk about it more, especially with this sweet integration into Unity catalog. I mean, you'd think everyone would be using this tool. I mean, we proved that Daft with minimal configuration can easily read Unity catalog Delta Lake tables, which is not easy if you try to do it with other tools. It's a pain and almost impossible. It's way faster than Spark, and I would expect that. Even on bigger data sets than we tested, probably hundreds of millions of records, Daft is just going to be faster because it's written in Rust. Production Databricks environment I use today, we have init scripts that install other Python packages we use. How easy is it just to add Daft on there? It takes no effort at all to run Daft inside Databricks. And it could save real money by reducing runtimes easily, either by taking those runtime running inside Databricks down, or by just totally getting rid of the Databricks compute and just running it, say, Daft on an Airflow worker, right? It would do the same thing and be even cheaper. This tool is awesome. I cannot believe more people are not talking about it. I really hope the Daft people get their marketing and stuff like that under control and start pushing this stuff out, because more people need to know about this.